Today, we're going to talk about a profound and transformative topic, impermanence in personal relationships, and how the Buddhist perspective can help us deal with this reality. In Buddhism, impermanence is seen as one of the fundamental characteristics of life. Everything is in constant flux. Our relationships, our feelings, and even how we see the world are in continuous flow. This is natural, but we often suffer when trying to hold on to or control something that is bound to change. Let's explore together how accepting and dealing with impermanence in relationships can bring us more peace and fulfillment. We'll delve into Buddhist teachings that encourage us to appreciate each moment and cultivate healthy relationships, free from the weight of attachment and fear of loss. So, let me ask you, have you ever felt frustrated upon realizing that a relationship has changed over time? Or perhaps struggled with the distance from someone dear to you? If these questions resonate with you, I invite you to join me on this journey. Let's discover together how Buddhist wisdom can help us live lighter, more conscious relationships. To understand how Buddhism helps us deal with changes in relationships, we must begin with one of its fundamental concepts, anicca, or impermanence. This concept reminds us that everything that exists is in constant movement and transformation. In Buddhism, impermanence is not seen as something negative. On the contrary, it's considered a natural characteristic of everything that exists, from the changing seasons to the growth of a plant or the aging of the body. Everything undergoes change. This principle of anicca also applies to our relationships. At some point, we notice how the people around us, as well as ourselves, change over time. The relationship with a childhood friend may have been deep and close in the past, but over the years, both paths may have taken different directions. Sometimes, we realize that feelings change too. How we feel about someone or a situation transforms as we grow and evolve. Recognizing that both we and others are in constant change is essential to living more lightly. Suffering often arises when we resist this fluid nature of life. We may cling to a fixed image of another person or try to prevent them from changing, but that control is illusory. The moment we understand that changes are inevitable, we allow ourselves to see each relationship as a unique experience that evolves over time. By doing so, we avoid resisting the natural transformations of relationships. When we accept that change is inevitable, we learn to value each phase and embrace the growth that each stage offers us. Relationships are part of our learning process, and by embracing impermanence, we make room to experience these connections without rigid expectations, which reduces suffering and brings more peace. This is the first step, understanding that impermanence is a fundamental part of everything, including the relationships we form. This understanding allows us to embrace transience with less resistance and more serenity, beginning to let go of the idea that things need to be fixed to be valuable. Now, let's explore the next step, how to practice detachment and acceptance, in a compassionate and conscious way, in our relationships. Now that we understand impermanence, let's talk about an essential practice to deal with changes in relationships, detachment. In Buddhism, detachment is a virtue that frees us, but often the concept can be misunderstood. It's common to think that detachment means not caring, but true detachment is far from indifference. In fact, it involves cultivating freedom and respect for ourselves and others, allowing both to grow authentically. Detachment, in this context, does not mean abandoning feelings or ceasing to love. It means freeing relationships from the need for control and rigid expectations. In Buddhism, detachment allows us to love more fully, as we recognize that both we and others are on a journey of evolution. Instead of trying to keep a relationship exactly as it is, detachment teaches us to respect the natural flow, leaving room for the relationship to develop according to the reality of the moment. But what happens when we become too attached? When we are attached, it's common to create expectations about how the other person should behave or about what we expect from them. This attachment can lead to frustrations and disappointments because life and people do not fit perfectly into our idealizations. Attachment creates a fixed and unchanging view of the relationship, which can prevent us from seeing the other person as they truly are. Instead, we end up projecting our own desires and fears, distancing ourselves from genuine connection. The path of detachment, however, is not about giving up on relationships, but about embracing their transformative nature. Instead of trying to freeze an image of a loved one, we can learn to accept them in their constant evolution, just as we accept our own changes. For this, it is essential to practice acceptance, the act of welcoming each moment and each stage of the relationship with openness and curiosity, without expectations of absolute stability. A powerful strategy to cultivate acceptance is to shift the focus of our relationships. Instead of demanding that they remain the same, we can learn to value the growth and learning that each interaction brings. Every person who comes into our lives teaches us something valuable, and by accepting this, we gain serenity and peace. When we let go of expectations and embrace transformation as part of the journey, we allow the relationship to flourish with freedom and authenticity. Now that we've explored detachment and acceptance, let's discuss an important pillar in Buddhism that can strengthen our relationships: loving kindness, or metta. Metta is a type of love without attachments. It's not based on conditions or desires for reciprocation. Loving with metta is genuinely wishing for the well-being of the other, regardless of what they offer us or the changes the relationship might go through. When we practice loving kindness, we don't love with possessiveness or expectations, but with an open and receptive heart. This type of love recognizes the autonomy and value of the other as an evolving being. It invites us to let go of the idea that love requires possession or control. Instead, loving kindness teaches us to celebrate the happiness of the other and support their journey, even if it doesn't follow the script we imagined. To complement metta, Buddhism teaches us to practice compassion. Compassion helps us see that others, just like us, are also facing their own transformations and challenges. When we understand that each person is dealing with their pains, fears, and changes, we develop a gentler and more welcoming perspective. This compassion helps us reduce the demands and expectations we often carry in our relationships. Here's the translation of the second part into English. With compassion, we realize that no one is perfect and that everyone, including ourselves, is on a journey of growth and self-discovery. This understanding allows us to be more patient and understanding, especially during moments of conflict or distance. Compassion also helps us build lighter relationships because we understand that difficulties are natural and that it is possible to support one another even in the face of changes. To put loving kindness and compassion into practice, we can do a simple meditation exercise. Find a quiet place and, for a few minutes, close your eyes and imagine the other person, wishing them happiness, health, and peace. The practice involves mentally sending good thoughts and energies to that person, even if there are difficulties between you. Start by sending these feelings to yourself, then to the person you care about, and finally to everyone around you. This exercise can transform how we view relationships, nurturing love and compassion within us. When we practice metta and compassion, we cultivate a loving energy that allows us to accept the other person in their fullness and change, experiencing each relationship with more lightness and gratitude. Now that we understand impermanence, detachment, and loving kindness, let's learn a meditation practice that helps us deal with the transience of everything around us. Impermanence meditation, also known as anicca. This practice involves calmly observing the fleeting nature of our thoughts, feelings, and sensations, allowing us to gradually become familiar with the fact that everything is always in flux. To begin this meditation, find a quiet, comfortable place. Sit with your spine straight and your eyes gently closed. Start by focusing on your breath. Observe the air entering and leaving your lungs, noticing each inhalation and exhalation as a unique and fleeting moment. Gradually, expand your attention to the thoughts that arise in your mind. See how they come and go, and notice that no thought remains fixed for long. By doing this, you are observing impermanence in action, noticing how each thought, emotion, and bodily sensation is temporary. It may be helpful to observe this without judgment, simply noticing each sensation as an experience that appears and quickly dissolves. This practice helps us recognize that, just like our thoughts, our relationships are also in constant transformation. This meditation strengthens our ability to accept the changes that happen around us and within us. By practicing the observation of impermanence, we develop a more grateful and present outlook on every moment we live. Over time, this understanding of transience allows us to experience relationships more lightly, fully appreciating each moment without clinging to expectations for the future. At the same time, this practice reduces the fear of losing someone or seeing them drift away. When we understand that the natural course of things is to change, we realize that we don't need to fear loss because it is part of the cycle of everything. This acceptance prepares us to deal with separations and breakups in a balanced and conscious way, transforming suffering into an opportunity for learning and growth. In addition to accepting impermanence, Buddhism invites us to live fully in the present moment through mindfulness, or sati, which means full awareness. Mindfulness teaches us to observe each moment completely, without judgment, and to appreciate the richness it offers. In relationships, this practice is essential because it helps us truly be with the other person and value each interaction without the pressure of the past or the future. When we practice mindfulness, we give ourselves the chance to notice and nurture what is meaningful in each moment. When we are attentive to the here and now, our exchanges become more genuine and profound. Instead of projecting expectations or trying to foresee the direction of the relationship, we simply experience what it offers us in the present moment. This state of presence reduces anxiety about the future and allows us to express affection, respect, and understanding more authentically. Imagine, for example, a conversation with someone special. Instead of thinking about something that person did in the past or imagining possible future scenarios, mindfulness encourages us to truly listen, to pay attention to their words, the tone of their voice, the expression on their face. This level of presence creates a welcoming space where the other person feels heard and respected, which strengthens the connection between you. When we live relationships fully, we are more able to appreciate each smile, each exchange of words, and each moment. This not only enriches the quality of the relationship, but also allows us to see the other with more empathy and understanding. By letting go of projections, we avoid allowing worries and expectations to cloud our judgment, creating space for the relationship to flow more lightly. To cultivate mindfulness in relationships, you can try a simple mindfulness exercise. The next time you're talking to someone, make a conscious effort to be present, listen to each word without interrupting, observe their gestures, and express your attention with a look or a smile. Allow yourself to be fully there, without thinking about anything else. This exercise strengthens the bond, allowing both to feel welcomed and respected. By practicing mindfulness, we become more open to experiencing the relationship as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. In this way, each interaction becomes an opportunity for true connection, filled with presence, gratitude, and love. In Buddhism, the idea that relationships have a natural cycle is widely accepted and respected. People come in and out of our lives at moments that are significant for our growth and learning. Every relationship has its own rhythm, a series of phases and lessons that bring a unique richness. When we understand that each relationship has a beginning, a middle, and often an end, we can embrace each stage without resistance or resentment. This recognition allows us to value and celebrate each phase of a relationship. Instead of holding on to what was or fearing what may come, Buddhism teaches us to appreciate what is in the present moment. Each bond leaves a mark on us, and even when a relationship ends or changes, the value and learning it brought remain. Accepting the end of a relationship or its transformation can be difficult, but it is an essential part of our growth journey. Rather than fixating on what could have been, we are invited to honor what was. With this understanding, we learn to release both the other person and ourselves with peace and gratitude, recognizing that everyone who crosses our path contributes to our development. I hope this journey has brought clarity on how to face impermanence in relationships from a Buddhist perspective. We explored how the concept of anicca teaches us to accept that everything changes, including ourselves and the people we love. We understood that detachment, loving-kindness, and compassion help us cultivate healthier and freer relationships, and that mindfulness allows us to live each moment with presence and gratitude. Buddhist teachings invite us to see relationships as a continuous learning experience, where the acceptance of change transforms into a source of peace. Ask yourself, how could I apply these teachings to live my relationships more lightly and consciously? The journey of accepting impermanence is continuous, but every step is valuable. Try applying the suggested practices here, like loving kindness and impermanence meditation, and observe the internal changes they bring. And if you feel comfortable, share in the comments your experience with transformations in relationships. Thank you for watching. May we cultivate peace, love, and acceptance at every stage of our journey.